Mastering sleep quality and aligning with your natural circadian clock is the foundation for physical and mental performance. What you consume fuels your brain, body, and energy. Daily attention to nutrient timing and hydration sharpens focus and resilience. The body was built. Exercise stimulates neurochemistry that supports mood, cognition, and long-term health. Training attention and eliminating distractions is essential for deep work, learning, and personal growth. Strong connections regulate the nervous system, reduce stress, and expand your capacity for growth. When we talk about the things you must work on every single day, sleep stands at the very foundation. It is not just the absence of being awake. It is an active, highly regulated biological process that sets the stage for every other function in your body and mind. When sleep is optimized, your immune system strengthens, your brain encodes and consolidates memories, your emotional regulation stabilizes, and your physical recovery accelerates. When sleep is neglected, every other system begins to erode, often silently at first, but with compounding effects over weeks, months, and years. The human body operates on circadian rhythms, roughly 24-hour cycles that dictate when we feel alert, when we feel tired, and when our organs perform at their peak. These rhythms are governed by a biological clock located in the hypothalamus, which is influenced by external cues like light, temperature, and even meal timing. When you expose your eyes to natural light within the first hour of waking, you send a direct signal to your brain that anchors your circadian rhythm. This single act resets your internal clock, increasing daytime alertness. And it triggers a cascade of hormonal events that make it easy. Without this daily alignment, your rhythm drifts, and even if you spend 8 hours in bed, the quality of your rest may be compromised. Sleep quality is often misunderstood as simply the duration of time spent in. In reality, sleep is composed of distinct stages: light sleep, deep sleep, and REM sleep. Each plays a specific role. Deep sleep is where physical repair happens, muscle tissue is rebuilt, and growth hormone is released. And REM sleep is where the brain consolidates emotional experiences, creativity, and problem-solving capacities. Light sleep acts as a transitional bridge that allows your body to cycle through these critical phases. Disruptions in any of these stages leave you feeling groggy, unfocused, and emotionally unbalanced, even if you technically slept for 7 or 8 hours. That's why the consistency of when you go to bed and when you wake up matters as much, if not more, than the raw number of hours you lost. The nervous system is profoundly affected by sleep. One night of poor rest increases cortisol, the stress hormone, making you more reactive and less capable of handling challenges with composure. Over time, chronic sleep deprivation rewires how dopamine and serotonin operate in the brain, leaving you more prone to anxiety, low motivation, and even depression. On the other hand, high-quality sleep regulates these neurochemicals, giving you a greater sense of optimism, sharper focus, and improved resilience to stress. Think of sleep not as a passive downtime, but as a daily recalibration of your brain chemistry. When it comes to preparing your body for deep restorative sleep, the actions you take throughout the day play an enormous role. Caffeine, for instance, has a half-life of about 6 to 8 hours, which means that a cup of coffee consumed in the late afternoon could still be disrupting your sleep late into the night. The same applies to bright light exposure in the evening, especially from screens. These lights suppress the release of melatonin, the hormone that signals your body it's time to rest. By dimming lights in your environment, at least an hour before bed, you're sending a powerful signal to your nervous system to begin winding down. Temperature is another lever to control. Your body naturally cools as you transition into sleep, and creating an environment that is slightly cooler supports this biological process. And so simple actions like taking a warm shower before bed can paradoxically help, because when you step out, your core temperature drops, nudging you toward deeper rest. These behaviors might seem small, but they add up to dramatically shift the quality of your sleep over time. It's also important to understand that sleep debt is real. Missing out on proper rest one night does not fully reset with just a long night's sleep the following day. Your body does try to compensate by increasing deep sleep the next night, but consistent irregularity still erodes long-term health. Cognitive performance, metabolic regulation, and even cardiovascular health all decline with irregular sleep patterns. That's why committing to a regular bedtime and wake up schedule, even on weekends, is one of the most powerful habits you can build. Another critical point is how sleep interacts with learning and memory. Studies show that when you engage in deep study, practice a skill, or have emotionally intense experiences, the brain doesn't fully solidify those connections until you sleep. During slow-wave deep sleep, neurons replay the patterns of activity from the day, strengthening the wiring that underlies skill learning. During REM sleep, the brain integrates emotional experiences, helping you make sense of stress, disappointment, or joy. Without sufficient sleep, you may be putting in the effort to grow, but the growth itself is blunted. Finally, sleep has a profound impact on physical health. Athletes who prioritize sleep recover faster, gain strength more efficiently, and have fewer injuries. Even outside of sports, sleep improves insulin sensitivity, reducing the risk of type 2 diabetes, and it strengthens immune function, making you more resilient to illness. People who chronically undersleep are more likely to gain weight, not simply because of lower energy and willpower, but because sleep deprivation alters hunger hormones like ghrelin and leptin, increasing cravings for high-calorie foods. The discipline to prioritize sleep is, in reality, a discipline to preserve your physical, mental, and emotional future. What you put into your body each day determines how your brain functions, how much energy you have, and how effectively your systems can repair themselves. Nutrition and hydration are not simply about calories or avoiding hunger. They are signals that tell your cells when to grow, when to repair, and when to conserve. Every bite of food and every sip of water carries information to your nervous system, your muscles, your hormones, and your... When you neglect these inputs or allow them to become chaotic, your performance, mood, and long-term health all decline. When you consistently pay attention to them, you set a powerful foundation for focus, strength, and resilience. The timing of nutrition is just as important as the quality. Your body has natural rhythms that dictate when it processes food most efficiently. Early in the day, insulin sensitivity is higher, which means your body can better manage glucose from carbohydrates. Later in the evening, that sensitivity decreases, and heavy meals are more likely to disrupt sleep and lead to fat storage rather than energy utilization. By aligning your meals with your body's natural metabolic rhythms, you not only fuel your day more effectively, but also support deeper and more restorative rest at night. Hydration plays an equally critical role. Water is not just a way to quench thirst, it is the medium through which every chemical reaction in your body takes place. Even a small drop in hydration levels, just 1 to 2%, can reduce cognitive performance, lower reaction times, and decrease motivation. That's why beginning your day with water is one of the simplest yet most effective ways to kickstart both body and brain. It resets fluid levels after hours of sleep and primes you for higher levels of alertness. The nervous system thrives on specific nutrients. Omega-3 fatty acids found in foods like fish and certain seeds strengthen the myelin sheaths that insulate neurons, improving the speed and efficiency of brain signaling. Amino acids from protein provide the building blocks for neurotransmitters like dopamine and serotonin, which regulate mood, motivation, and reward. Complex carbohydrates supply steady glucose, the preferred fuel for the brain, while also preventing the sharp spikes and crashes that come with processed sugars. Micronutrients like magnesium, zinc, and B vitamins are cofactors in countless biochemical reactions that support focus, stress regulation, and energy production. Without these inputs, even the most disciplined mind or body will struggle to function at its best. Food is also one of the most powerful regulators of hormones. When you consume protein-rich meals early in the day, you stimulate the release of dopamine, which increases drive, motivation, and alertness. When you consume carbohydrates later in the day, serotonin pathways are supported, which helps prepare the body and mind for relaxation and sleep. This balance between alertness promoting and calming neurotransmitters is strongly influenced by what you eat and when you eat it. Skipping meals, eating erratically, or overloading on highly processed foods distorts this rhythm, leading to inconsistent energy and unstable mood. Another critical factor is gut health. The gut is lined with trillions of bacteria that play a direct role in digesting food, producing neurotransmitters, and regulating the immune system. This ecosystem is often referred to as the gut microbiome, and it communicates bidirectionally with the brain through what is called the gut-brain axis. Diets rich in fiber, fermented foods, and diverse plant matter feed beneficial bacteria, which in turn support mood stability, mental clarity, and resilience against inflammation. Diets heavy in refined sugars, artificial additives, and low-quality fats shift the balance toward harmful bacteria, which produce toxins that stress the brain and body. Every day, with each meal, you are shaping this inner ecosystem. Hydration extends beyond just drinking plain water. Electrolytes, sodium, potassium, magnesium, are vital for nerve conduction, muscle contraction, and fluid balance. When these minerals are depleted through sweating, stress, or poor diet, no amount of water alone can fully rehydrate you. This is why replenishing electrolytes, especially after exercise or prolonged heat exposure, is key to maintaining optimal function. Without them, you risk sluggishness, brain fog, and impaired coordination, even if you're drinking what seems like enough water. Nutrition and hydration also dictate recovery. After physical activity or mental strain, the body requires protein to repair tissue, carbohydrates to restore glycogen, and fluids to rebalance. Skipping these inputs slows down recovery and increases the chance of burnout. In contrast, providing the right nutrients at the right time accelerates adaptation, allowing you to not only return to baseline, but improve beyond it. The principle is simple. When we recover from, you grow from. Even small changes in daily nutrition and hydration habits can compound into major shifts in performance. Choosing whole foods over processed ones, aligning meals with circadian rhythms, hydrating consistently, and supporting gut health are not dramatic or extreme interventions. They are consistent, repeatable actions that shape your brain and body from the inside out. Your energy levels, your clarity of thought, and your emotional regulation all respond directly to these inputs. By respecting the role of nutrition and hydration, you are not just eating and drinking to survive. You are deliberately programming your biology to perform, recover, and thrive. Human beings are built to move, and yet in the modern world, many of us spend the majority of our day sitting, staring at screens, and allowing our bodies to remain inactive for long stretches of time. This is not what our biology was designed for. Movement is not only about maintaining muscle strength or keeping weight under control. It is a fundamental requirement for the nervous system, the brain, and every organ in the body to function optimally. Physical training and daily activity act as signals that guide the release of neurochemicals, the repair of tissues, and the overall regulation of energy. Without consistent movement, the body begins to degrade, but with it, every system operates more efficiently. When you engage in physical activity, even something as simple as walking, you increase blood flow throughout the body and brain. This circulation delivers oxygen and nutrients to tissues that need them, while also removing waste products. The brain, in particular, benefits immensely from this process. During movement, growth factors such as brain-derived neurotrophic factor, or BDNF, are released. BDNF is like fertilizer for the brain. It strengthens existing neural connections and stimulates the growth of new ones, which directly supports learning, memory, and creativity. This is one of the reasons why a brisk walk can clear your mind or spark solutions to problems that seemed unsolvable. Different types of movement stimulate different systems. Resistance training, for example, builds muscle mass and strengthens bones. But it also regulates hormones like testosterone and growth hormone that influence energy, mood. Cardiovascular training improves the efficiency of the heart and lungs, but it also enhances mitochondrial function in cells, meaning your body becomes more efficient at producing energy. Flexibility and mobility practices, such as stretching or yoga, maintain joint health and reduce the risk of injury, but they also activate parasympathetic pathways in the nervous system that reduce stress and promote. A well-rounded movement practice is not just about aesthetics or fitness goals. It is about ensuring that every physiological system is trained to adapt and thrive. The timing and consistency of movement matter. Exercising early in the day provides a powerful signal to your circadian system, reinforcing wakefulness and increasing alertness through the release of dopamine and norepinephrine. Movement later in the day can serve as a way to discharge accumulated stress and prepare the body for rest. What is important is not only how intensely you train, but that you engage in movement daily, consistently sending the signal to your body that it is designed to be active. Sporadic bursts of exercise cannot fully compensate for days of inactivity because the nervous system thrives on repetition and rhythm. The psychological benefits of movement are profound. Physical activity is one of the most reliable ways to elevate mood and reduce symptoms of anxiety or depression. This is because exercise increases the release of endorphins and endocannabinoids, which create a sense of well-being and resilience. It also regulates the balance of serotonin and dopamine, helping you stay motivated, focused, and emotionally stable. For many people, a regular exercise routine is more effective at maintaining long-term mental health than any external intervention. The body and mind are not separate, and movement is one of the clearest examples of how training the body directly transforms the state of the mind. Movement also teaches discipline and resilience. Training is not always easy. It requires pushing through resistance, fatigue, or discomfort. Each time you complete a workout or engage in deliberate physical practice, you reinforce the neural pathways associated with perseverance and effort. Over time, this shapes your identity and how you respond to challenges outside the gym or training environment. Movement becomes not only a way to maintain health, but a daily practice of cultivating mental toughness and adaptability. Recovery is a critical part of physical training. Muscles grow not during the workout itself. By fueling the body properly, hydrating, and ensuring quality sleep, you allow the adaptations triggered by exercise to fully integrate. Without recovery, training simply becomes stress that erodes the body. With recovery, the same stress transforms into strength and resilience. This principle mirrors life itself. Growth happens when stress and rest are balanced deliberately. There is also a powerful social and emotional aspect to movement. Training with others, joining a class, or even walking with a friend creates shared experiences that strengthen relationships. These connections reduce feelings of isolation and provide accountability, making it easier to remain consistent over time. Human beings evolved in groups where movement, hunting, and survival were in the modern world. The ability to focus has become one of the most valuable and rare skills. Our nervous system is constantly bombarded by notifications, advertisements, and competing demands for attention, and yet the quality of our lives depends on what we choose to focus on and how deep. Focus is not a passive trait that some people are born with and others are not. It is a trainable ability that shapes the way the brain organizes information, makes decisions, and builds. When you deliberately train your ability to focus, you are actually rewiring the circuits of your brain to resist distraction, to sustain effort, and to engage fully in whatever task is in front of you. The brain does not multitask in the way many people assume. When you attempt to do several things at once, what is really happening is rapid task switching, which taxes the prefrontal cortex and depletes mental energy. Each switch comes with a cognitive cost, reducing efficiency and increasing error. True productivity comes from monotasking, devoting complete attention to a single thing until it is finished or until a natural stopping point is reached. This depth of focus allows the brain to enter what is often called a flow state, where time seems to disappear, distractions fade, and effort feels almost effortless. These states are not accidents. They are the result of creating the right conditions and training the mind to sustain concentration. Physiology plays a direct role in mental clarity. The neurotransmitters dopamine, norepinephrine, and acetylcholine are key drivers of attention. Dopamine provides the sense of motivation and reward. Norepinephrine heightens alertness, and acetylcholine locks attention onto a specific target. You can influence these systems by how you structure your environment and behaviors. Natural light in the morning, physical movement, and even deliberate breathing patterns can elevate these neurochemicals and prepare your brain for sustained focus. Conversely, poor sleep, dehydration, and excessive reliance on stimulants like caffeine can destabilize these systems, leaving attention fragmented and erratic. One of the most powerful tools for cultivating clarity is deliberate practice of visual and mental focus. When you narrow your eyes to focus on a single object in your environment, Your brain's attentional networks become more active. This can be extended to mental tasks as well, choosing a single idea, problem, or project, and committing undivided attention to it for a period of time. Even short sessions of deliberate focus, consistently repeated, strengthen the neural circuits that support attention in much the same way that lifting weights strengthens muscles. The brain adapts to what you demand of it. Creating an environment that reduces distractions is critical. Every time you check your phone, glance at notifications, or shift your attention to irrelevant stimuli, you reinforce the habit of fragmentation. The brain becomes wired for distraction. By contrast, when you eliminate these interruptions and set aside blocks of time for uninterrupted work, you reinforce the habit of depth. Over time, the ease with which you drop into focus increases. Just as the body learns to perform movements more efficiently with practice, the mind learns to concentrate more effortlessly when given consistent opportunities to do so. When the mind is clouded with stress, worry, or unresolved tension, focus becomes far more difficult. Practices that downshift the nervous system from high stress to a calmer baseline, such as deep breathing, mindfulness, or even a simple walk outdoors, create the physiological state necessary for clarity. Stress is not inherently bad. In fact, moderate stress can sharpen focus and improve performance. But when stress becomes chronic and unregulated, it hijacks attention, pulling the mind toward perceived threats and away from deliberate tasks. Learning to work with stress, to channel it, and to release it when necessary is a key part of maintaining focus. Clarity also depends on aligning your attention with your values and priorities. When you work on something that has meaning, the brain's motivational systems engage more fully, sustaining effort over longer periods. On the other hand, when you spend your focus on things that lack purpose, fatigue arrives quickly and distractions become more appealing. This is why reflection and intentional planning are essential. By identifying the few things that truly matter and directing focus toward them daily, you amplify not only productivity, but also fulfillment. There is a deep connection between rest and focus. Just as muscles require recovery after exertion, the neural circuits of attention require intervals of rest. Attempting to focus for hours without pause leads to diminishing returns, errors, and exhaustion. Short breaks, especially those that involve physical movement or exposure to nature, restore clarity and allow you to return to work with renewed intensity. The rhythm of focus and rest is what allows for sustainable, deep work over weeks, months, and years. Training focus is not simply about being able to work harder. It is about reshaping the way you experience life. When you can direct your attention deliberately, conversations become more meaningful, learning becomes more efficient, and even simple activities like eating or walking become richer experiences. In a world that is constantly trying to capture your attention, the tone of a caregiver's voice, the expression on a friend's face, or the touch of a loved one directly influences how our brain and body regulate themselves. Relationships are not simply about companionship or social pleasure. They are essential to our biology. Emotional connection impacts hormones, immune function, and even the structure of the brain. Every day, the quality of our relationships influences how we think, how we feel, and how resilient we are in the face of stress. The nervous system contains circuits specifically designed to attune us to others. When you speak with someone you trust, your heart rate lowers, cortisol levels decrease, and oxytocin rise. Oxytocin, sometimes called the bonding hormone, is not only about affection, it strengthens feelings of trust, reduces fear, and encourages cooperation. This biochemical shift allows you to feel safe, grounded, and more capable of tackling challenges. On the other hand, social isolation triggers the release of stress hormones and activates brain circuits associated with physical pain. Loneliness is not simply an emotion. It is a physiological state that increases inflammation, weakens immunity, and shortens lifespan. This is why daily investment in emotional connection is as vital as sleep, nutrition, or exercise. Relationships also shape identity. The people you spend the most time with influence how your brain wires itself for behavior. Conversations, shared values, and even subtle expressions shape your beliefs and your self-concept. Surrounding yourself with people who encourage growth, resilience, and honesty trains your nervous system to operate from those same qualities. By contrast, being immersed in negative or toxic interactions reinforces stress, self-doubt, and distraction. The brain is constantly modeling itself after its environment, and people are the most powerful part of that environment. Each relationship is an input that can strengthen or weaken your sense of clarity and purpose. Emotional connection also impacts motivation and learning. When you experience positive interactions with others, dopamine circuits in the brain activate, reinforcing the behaviors that led to that connection. This makes it easier to stay consistent in habits, to pursue long-term goals, and to face challenges. Social support acts as an amplifier of willpower. When you know someone believes in you or stands beside you, your nervous system interprets challenges as more manageable. The opposite is true as well. Without support, obstacles feel heavier, and your capacity for persistence. Relationships literally change the way your brain evaluates effort and reward. Daily emotional connection does not always mean long conversations or grand gestures. Small, consistent signals of presence are enough to shape the nervous system. A brief eye contact, a genuine question, a few minutes of shared silence all activate circuits of trust and safety. The key is consistency. Just as the body needs daily movement and proper nutrition, the nervous system requires regular doses of genuine connection. Genuine connection. Skipping these interactions may not seem critical in the short term, but over time, the lack of relational input erodes emotional resilience, leaving you more vulnerable to stress and less capable of regulating mood. Relationships also provide feedback loops for growth. Honest communication allows you to see blind spots in your behavior and thinking, pushing you to refine and adapt. Without connection, it is easy to fall into distorted self-perception or limiting beliefs. Through trusted relationships, you receive both encouragement and correction, which guide you toward greater alignment with your potential. The act of listening deeply to others also strengthens your own empathy and capacity for focus. By giving someone else your undivided attention, you train the same neural circuits required for mental clarity and resilience. Another dimension of emotional connection is physical health. Studies consistently show that people with strong relationships recover faster from illness, have lower blood pressure, and live longer. This is not coincidence. Social connection directly reduces chronic stress responses that damage the cardiovascular system and suppress immunity. It also promotes behaviors that sustain health, such as in sleep, exercise, and nutrition, because accountability and shared routines reinforce these patterns. Connection creates a buffer against the wear and tear of daily life, allowing the body to maintain balance and adapt more effectively. Relationships also serve as anchors for meaning and purpose. Achievements, no matter how impressive, feel hollow without someone to share them with. The brain's reward systems are designed not only to respond to individual success, but also to amplify the experience when it is connected to others. A sense of belonging is one of the strongest predictors of long-term satisfaction. Daily investment in connection, even in small ways, strengthens the sense of belonging and ensures that life is not only about survival or achievement, but also about fulfillment. Emotional connection requires effort and intentionality. Just as muscles weaken without training, relationships wither without attention. Listening fully, being present without distraction, and showing empathy are practices that must be cultivated daily. These actions are not only for the benefit of others, they recalibrate your own nervous system. They reinforce patience, expand perspective, and create the conditions for emotional stability. In a world filled with distraction and constant busyness, choosing to prioritize connection each day is an act of discipline that transforms both you and those around you. Each day presents an opportunity to build or erode the foundation of your life, sleep and circadian alignment, recalibrate the nervous system, and set the stage for energy and resilience. Nutrition and hydration fuel the brain, body, and emotions, turning every meal into a message for growth or decline. Movement and physical training activate the systems that keep you sharp, adaptable, and strong. Focus and mental clarity determine whether your attention becomes scattered or directed toward what truly matters. Relationships and emotional connection regulate your biology, anchor your purpose, and give meaning to every achievement. These 5 pillars are not optional. They are daily practices that shape the trajectory of your health, your mindset, and your capacity to thrive. By working on them consistently, you create the conditions not just for survival, but for a life of strength, clarity, and fulfillment.